Welcome to another episode of Let's Wine, the only podcast where we share a good glass of wine and uncorked very good conversations. I have the pleasure of having my co-host here today, Andrea Seid. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have a very special guest, Eric Adair, right? Did I say it correctly? Director of Communications for US Extruders. Welcome, Eric.
Oh, thank you.
Well, cheers. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Cheers.
Where I know you're a fan of red wines,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What's your favorite red wine?
A Cabernet.
What do you like about it?
So like in general, I think like with beer and with coffee, I like it like strong. And I think a Cabernet has more body and a little bit of a stronger kind of flavor.
Yeah.
Not too sweet.
And as strong as having the role and the job of managing all of communications and digital strategy
Yes.
for US Extruders,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So Eric, why don't you share with us what is it that you do, your role? That is not an easy one.
Sure.
I was a comms director at some point in my corporate life, so I know how challenging the role is.
Yes.
And especially for a company in the plastics industry. Why don't you share with our audience?
Sure. Yeah. So as director of communication, basically, I'm constantly looking for ways to communicate who US Extruders is, whether that's what we do or who we are as a company, our company culture, and things like that. And so a lot of that involves, preparing for trade shows or doing videos out in the shop to show some of our equipment or interviewing some of our team members so people can see, who they are and, what's important about them and how those people can help our customers. So it's quite a few, different things going on all the time. So
Always on the go.
yes, always on the go.
Always on the go.
Out to events like here we're at Executive Forum and in other trade shows. So
That's the great part about a job is when you don't have the same day twice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I love about my job as well.
Yeah.
So
I think everybody in the industry knows what US Extruders does. But for those of audience members that don't know, why don't you share with them?
So US Extruders is a manufacturer of extrusion equipment, specifically single screw extruders for the plastics industry, plastics, rubber, and silicone. So a lot of our industries include things like wiring cable or medtech device, recycling, any sort of single shape out of plastic is done in an extruder. So it's a wide range of products that are made, which keeps it interesting, which is one thing I really like about the job is I always see something new or often see something new where they'll come in with, a line that they're setting up and they're running, like a corrugated tube or something, which you'd be like, how would they do that? So you get to watch, like, it's almost like those How It's Made shows have quite a bit in our facility.
Oh, just like good wine, you're being bold. You mentioned that you like bold wines, right?
Yes.
Being bold and being always innovating, trying to be at the forefront of the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So innovation is one of our key characteristics where we are constantly trying to either solve a problem or prevent problems for our customers. That's what we often really like to partner with our customers. And so within that, we kind of do what a lot of other companies say that they do. We really do try to innovate and create solutions and really try to partner with our customers to help them get the product that they're looking for. Like we're just as what a lot in their final product as they are, so that we can partner with them and get them to that result.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. And Andrea and I have had this conversation many times. Unfortunately, how sometimes a bad reputation the industry has, the plastics industry, right? And that's a good name for a song, right? Bad reputation.
Yes. Look.
But your job as a comms director, it's building the narrative that really challenges that perception that it's out there. And can you share with us how do you work in terms of storytelling for the plastics industry, helping shape or change rather that narrative out there?
So I think a lot of times it's really showing people the good parts of plastics. And so a lot of times when I explain what I do to somebody who doesn't know, I usually include some of the industries and some of the products that are made and then like medtech or because especially medical is one of the big areas where I don't think anybody would argue that that medical devices shouldn't be made out of plastic. They should be made out of metal or wood or something. So that helps just showing what the important parts of what our customers do and things like that. But then it's also, I think, important to understand that there are some issues in the industry. I think a lot of times people don't want to share some of the negatives, but there are some negatives in the plastics industry. And I also think it's important to share what some of those are and then what companies are doing to try to fix those issues. And that's what so we do a lot with recycling as well. And so with a lot of companies that are having to now bring recycling in-house, we're helping companies do that by getting them pelletizing lines and things so that they can take some of their scrap and they can recycle it. And so I think that's, some areas. So showing that there was an issue, with scrap, and they were, probably throwing some of that away, but now they're taking the scrap and they're recycling it and they're reusing it. So I think sharing some of those stories are really important as well. It's not, so also showing, what's really good, but then what we're doing to fix some of the issues.
Yeah, and your organization is sustainable anyway. You're self-powered by solar panels on the roof as well. And I mean, you did that years ago, kind of before the solar panel guys were going door to door, So I think as an organization, you've always looked at ways to be sustainable yourself, which then translates to how you do that for your customers. So, yeah.
You've had quite a journey. You've been in the industry since 2009. Right?
Yes.
And one of the things that
you were 10?
Yes.
We want to hear that story. Right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that really resonated with me is how your philosophy of how you treat every person like they matter.
Sure.
And that's so important when building company culture.
Yes.
Can you walk us through a little bit about the company culture that you have at US Extruders and how you're building it from the ground up?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, that we as a company try to treat everybody as a person, and they're as part of the team, and because everybody on the team is important. Without anybody, we couldn't do what we're doing. So we try to communicate that and try to give people power to make decisions and also make mistakes, and then help them fix those mistakes and things like that. And so I think by treating people right and giving them the power, I think that really helps them also feel empowered and feel like a person and want to do a good job. And so that I think that resonates through the company.
Yeah, how important or how critical is internal communications? Because that's usually an area of comms that gets overlooked.
Yes, for sure.
And companies tend to focus more on external comms, right? Because it's visible to stakeholders, to shareholders, to clients, to customers. How about internal comms, and how relevant or how important is it as part of your day-to-day?
Super important. I'd say we could do a better job at internal communications, like probably everybody. But I think how we to our management team and things like that, and how they communicate to the people that are on their team, super important. So I think it's kind of one of those things where it's not just marketing trying to communicate either our views or strategies, and it's really more like the leadership team that is treating them in a certain way and communicating the importance of a project or something, and so I think that has been a big thing for us.
Yeah, you have such a strong brand. Like I feel like, and 8 years you've been in business now, right? Which is amazing. Yeah. And that brand was born 8 years ago and has stayed so consistent and strong. And I feel like it's your employees that emanate that brand, right? And, and the way that they treat each other and the way that they treat, clients if they're client facing. And that really starts at the top, right? And it's something that, if that kind of culture is cultivated at the top, then the people that you add to your team, you make sure they're the right people for this culture. And then, and then that job becomes easier because you have the right team in place, you know, and I think you've done a fabulous job, you know, with that for sure.
Yeah, we definitely, we hire sometimes for more for culture than for what they can do.
Yes.
You can always train somebody, but you can't always change.
You can't change it. Right. Exactly. Yep.
So you hire for the culture and then you train them in their position. And that's worked really well for, a lot of areas.
That's a very common theme I'm hearing from a lot of people is that you just want to hire that right person, with the right work ethic and all of that. So,
And cheers to culture. It's very, very hard to build.
It is hard to build.
It's hard to build, but it's only built over time and with a lot of transparency and trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that is really when employees trust each other, when they trust management, that's when they do the best work.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah.
And Eric, what a journey. How many employees now?
We have close to 40. And we're 40, yeah. So we started with 7, and then we have 40. So
wow, that's amazing! What a true American story of resilience and building from the ground up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. The people and I've heard a lot here in the forum a lot about challenges. Mm-hmm. But I always like to frame the question in terms of opportunities, right? Sure. Because when there are challenges, there are always opportunities. Yes. What opportunities do you and US Extruders see for the industry?
So I think, for the industry, in my personal opinion, I think some of what we talked about a little bit earlier on sharing some of those issues and then how companies are working to resolve them. I think a lot of companies in the industry focus more on the idea that, well, how would you get by without plastics, right? Plastics is important. Like, yeah, I think most people, when you talk about, areas that plastics are in, will agree that plastics are important. But if you also, as a company, also show some of those areas of improvement or opportunities for the industry to improve and what people are doing to improve those and what companies are doing to improve those, I think that would be very important. And I'm hoping that, we'll see a little bit more of that, especially as some of these regulations come in. I think that on both sides of, the people that are creating the regulations and the plastics industry, there's a lot of very black or white thinking. And I think that doesn't really work, because they're like one area is they're trying to get rid of the PFAS material, which I think very important to me. I think it makes a lot of sense in certain products that they should get rid of it. But for medical, like it's very important and critical, and they haven't found a material yet that can replace it. And so I think, the government or the makers need to understand that that's very important area that is not black and white, and that something needs to get figured out.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Now shifting to wines, because that's we have to talk about wine.
Yes.
You're a cab type of guy, right?
Yeah.
But any other favorite wines that you have?
I'm not a huge wine drinker, so I think it's generally a cab I should go to. Yeah, pretty much every time.
Okay, you're a beer drinker.
I'm more of a beer drinker.
Okay, so we should be talking IPAs. So let's wine. We'll have to be like, let's beer about it.
Well, I'm gonna challenge you. I'm gonna challenge you to try some Spanish wine.
Okay,
you'll be surprised. Surprised.
Mm-hmm.
There are some really good red wines that are from the dry to the fruity side. Spanish. I'm going to challenge you to drink some of those.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right, Andrea?
Yeah, absolutely. They're bold, like full-bodied. Yeah, they're like a nice cap, for sure.
Yeah. So you're in marketing and communication. So I have you cannot get out of this podcast with answering some questions.
Yes.
What's your favorite industry event to attend? And I know you're going to be torn because there are many.
My favorite industry event to attend, I think. Probably my favorite would be Indian West, which is a medical show out in California. Just because you see such a broad, you get such a broad look at the different parts of, medtech device, things like that. And just from, automation to, equipment manufacturers like us and to people that are selling the products. And so it's a really neat industry.
And Andrea and I just were there, and you had a fantastic stand, fantastic, and the messaging was great. So going back next year?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, every year. Yes, yeah.
That's great. What's your favorite artificial intelligence tool that you use?
So I probably use ChatGPT the most. We do have what's the Microsoft one?
Yeah, Copilot.
Yes, we have Copilot internally, which works well for some things. But I would say in general, for what I've done, that's the best. And so, and I don't use it a lot. I would say I use it more for when I'm trying to figure out how to say something, and then say, I'm kind of trying to say this or this or this, and will help me say that, and then. Usually it will help me come up with a way to put those thoughts together, and then I'll write it based on. So other than that, I don't use it too much. But, I didn't know it's becoming a part of everybody's work.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And where does Eric get his news from?
So I would probably say the most general news. I use Apple News. And that's because I can hide a lot of things that I don't want to see necessarily. And so I do that. And I try to do mostly, headlines, unless something I feel is really important. At this point, I didn't always do that. But now where things are, sometimes I need to not read everything that's out there, right? So
you think the world's on fire, right? So
they might not go out there to some degree.
Right. That's great. And industry-wide, wise publications, any
definitely Plastics News. That's the medium publication that I read, and mostly that's because of its wide range of topics in the industry, from financial to resin prices and whatever's going on with companies in the industry, and so it's a great source for.
I think we're a little, all of us are a little biased here because we all love plastics. In terms of the wealth of content and the deep research that they produce. So
they do a nice job pulling people together at events like these as well, where they're sharing like innovative ideas and kind of next level thinking, which I think is really important for our industry. So
and that's what, like, this event is really great just because of the kind of top level view that you get, which you don't see a lot in at a lot of other conferences and shows. They're usually more technical or something. These are they can see really a big picture view of how the industry is thinking, where it's maybe headed a little bit. So
right, exactly.
Really,
So what's the biggest challenge, opportunity that you as a communications director and digital initiatives, what's the biggest challenge that you have in front of you?
It's real. I would say really sharing our company culture and really having people really understand that, because it's really hard until somebody comes and experiences it. Especially when everybody is saying that they are good at customer service and they want to make partnerships and they're innovative. So that it's really challenging. To kind of communicate that and try to get it, through the noise of other people to say, yeah, but we're really doing that. And that's what we've noticed, when we get somebody to come into the shop and then they meet the people, almost every time they become a partner and buy something, just because they can see that, oh, you guys actually do this. And, we can show them some of the things that we're doing on machines that are being built on the floor. That are things that are innovative, things so they can see that right away. But communicating that without bringing every single person into the shop is a bit of the shop.
And that's such an authentic way to experience US Extruders, right? And we were talking to a couple. Excuse me. Okay, cut.
Yes.
Okay. So this morning we were talking to a couple people that were involved with M&A. And as buyers walk into companies and they experience the people who are working on all levels from the back office to the shop floor, they feel the vibe, right? Of like, these people are happy to work here or these people are not happy to work here. And so I definitely think that people who come to visit US Extruders are going to immediately get that kind of culture and vibe and say, okay, I trust this company to find the right solution for me, because these people enjoy what they're doing, and I think that's, a big part of the battle in terms of sales, so yeah.
People buy from people.
Right. Yes.
People don't buy from machines. People don't buy from AI.
Right.
That's just the reality.
Right.
But Eric, let's talk about digital.
Okay.
Because that's another part of your job that you lead and you manage. 10 years ago, companies in the industry were still working on traditional communication, right? The traditional press release and the ways that we used to communicate with stakeholders. How has have you shifted your strategy to move more into the digital space, and how have you done so?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest part of what we do. We do a lot of content for like LinkedIn, and we do a lot of like digital advertising with like Plastics News and other people. But and that's where people are. You have to reach people where they're at. And I think, LinkedIn is one of a big area for us, because that's just, we've seen more and more customers out of any space, that's where they're at. And so we're trying to communicate with them there, engage with them there. And that's been probably the biggest and most important.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things in our jobs, those of us that have had the comms role or digital, it's showing results, showcasing results. Right?
Yeah.
So what are the top 1 or 2 or 3 metrics or KPIs that don't let you sleep at night? Or maybe they do, or a good glass of wine.
Yeah. Right. So it's hard, especially with what we do, because a lot of times there's long lead times. There's more and more. It's a long process before someone decides to actually purchase a piece of capital equipment. And so it's hard to a lot of times say where sales came from. That's when, it's a big challenge. And so, with what we do, we try to be very careful with what we decide to do and where we decide to advertise and things like that. But generally, we treat them all as a touch point for the customers. And so as far as like KPIs and things like that, honestly, I don't stress too much about it.
I love that answer.
I'm not think about it too much, but
it's so true, because it's very hard to say, oh, it was this digital ad or it was that print ad. It's the culmination of their experience of seeing your brand in all of these different places and knowing, okay, they're a strong player. I want to give them a chance.
And that's what they say. 7-ish touch points. Before someone decides to either put in a quote or buy something. And so that's really where it's at. We're trying to be there. We go to the shows and we, present what we have and who we are. And we show up on LinkedIn and Plastics News and things like that. So when people are where they're at, at work, then they see us and they're ready to purchase a piece of equipment. We hope that they'll think of us. Yeah.
But I love what you're saying, because it's really your culture coming alive.
Right.
In terms of you prioritize employees and what you were referencing before, but it's also working hand in hand, sales and marketing, with a more account-based management approach rather than just being fixated on the metrics, because that's what's happening to a lot of organizations now in the industry. Like, show me how many leads, the qualified leads, the marketing delivered this quarter.
Yeah. And that's what I always say with shows. I always say, if you want 1,000 leads, scans from a show, I can get them. I'm like, but it's not going to do us any good, So, you see a lot of these companies that'll put something like a golf simulator in their booth, and that you have to, get scanned before you can hit a ball. And I'm like, how many people are you scanning that have nothing to do with what you're doing, right? And so that's just leads that you'll have to sort through.
It just makes work for the sales force, really. So
I know that now it's hard to predict the future, right?
Sure.
So we're not in that business yet, right? But how do you see the industry moving forward in the next at least 18 months to 2 years?
I think it's going to continue with, trying to create like a circular economy, doing more with recycling and sustainability. I think it kind of has to go there, and I think it's starting. And I think it's just going to continue on that in that direction. I kind of hope it does. I think that would be great. So
It'd be better for all of us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think the more that the companies within the industry sort of embrace that in a real way, and do that from their own DNA, because they feel it's the right thing to do, will only benefit everybody.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. So we're here at Plastics News Executive Forum.
Yeah.
What has been your biggest, and we're still early in the session, but what has been your biggest takeaway?
So far, it's been a lot of talk about tariffs and the war/conflict in Iran and oil prices and things like that. And so just kind of getting that perspective from people, which is different than what you hear on the news and things like that. And I think it's been really good. One example is a guy that was talking about oil prices and everything. He was saying, what's going to happen, which is a negative, that the prices of resin are going to rise due to that, but then it's going to make recycling more cost effective. And so that's a positive for companies that are trying to do more recycling and things like that. So there's, pluses and minuses to everything. I would say that, right now there's a lot more minuses than pluses, but, we'll take the pluses where we can get them. Okay.
Where is the fun if it wouldn't be like that? Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Eric, how many years in the industry in total?
So it's been since 2009. So it's terrible. I mean, I'm more of a creative than a math.
Close to 20 years.
20 years. I was going to say.
Yeah, close to 20 years. So, if your career was a good glass of wine,
yes.
How would you describe your career?
Definitely interesting notes. Hopefully, deep, I guess, is what I would hope for, like a deep body, something we'll have to, something airy, but I would like to think of it that way, at least.
Well,
an interesting for sure.
Deep notes. I love it. Yeah.
Full.
Yeah. Full.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I love it, and making strides in an industry that is not the sexy industry, but with its own set of challenges and rewarding moments as well. Because
sure,
nobody knows until I was explaining to my kids were 11, my girls were 11, why I was coming to this forum, and I asked them, I challenged them, like, find me everything in this house that has plastics in it. And they came up like with 15, 20 objects. And at the end of the day, they ended up concluding that even the glasses they wear are made of plastic. So for them, it was very telling.
Everything.
Yeah, it was very telling. Oh, now we understand why.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So that's very important. But I congratulate you on the career that you built, the company that you helped build.
Thank you.
Because it's amazing. Andrea, any closing thoughts for Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I think a lot of companies should emulate sort of how you guys have approached starting with culture and using that as your starting point. I mean, that was so important, I know, to all of your founders, and using that to create success for yourself and also success for your customers, because that's how you guys operate, is that you're not successful unless your customers are successful. And I just feel like that's something that companies really should emulate and get success for themselves from that. So, I mean, I'm very impressed. So thank you so much.
We wanted to create a company where we wanted to work.
Right. Yeah.
If we're going to start a company, let's make it a place that we want to work at.
Yeah. Yep. It's great. You don't have trouble finding people to add to your staff, really, where there's a lot of companies that are, finding the right people and enough of the right people. That is definitely a challenge. So, yeah. So cheers to that.
Yes. Yeah. And what better way to do it than innovating?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So, Eric, where can an audience find you? Is it LinkedIn the best way to reach out?
It's probably one of the best ways, and through our website, which is US-Extruders.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. And we see you very present at Plastics News and all these events.
Yes.
So you're hitting the right touch points there with your marketing and communication strategy. So thank you for the gift of your time.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been such a pleasure having you here, and keep on building that amazing culture that you have.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's wine. you.